So let's play detective and have a look at some of the works at Castle Howard and see if we can discover some of the stories that they can tell us. Most of the picture collection was assembled by 3 generations of the family in less than a century. And it was probably at a famous country house sale, the Arundel House sale, that the 4th Earl acquired this portrait in about 1720. I expect many of you will recognise the sitter's identity. He was one of the most colourful of the Tudor monarchs, and much of the information we have about him and his courtiers comes from the work of one contemporary artist. The sitter is, of course, King Henry VIII, and was painted by Hans Holbein the Younger in 1542. What makes it such a striking image? How do you react as you look at his face, his eyes and mouth? He's looking straight at you. I wonder what he's thinking. What does his expression tell us? If he suddenly spoke, what would he say? As I continue to look at the portrait, I'm struck by the king's size and the detail of his richly ornamented costume. Hans Holbein was born in about 1497 in Augsburg, southern Germany, the son of a painter. He trained in his father's workshop and then moved to Basel in Switzerland, where he started on his own successful career. Today, he's recognised as one of the greatest portrait painters of all time. Now, you may never have been the sitter in a portrait, but I expect you have had the school photographer take your picture. He usually sets up his studio in the school hall and then makes a picture of every child in the school in a matter of hours. How long do you think it would have taken Holbein, with his brushes and paint, to make a single portrait? He painted with such accuracy, his pictures have a photographic quality, and he's given us an important record of the members of the Tudor court. Yet he didn't start his career as a portrait painter. He illustrated books and painted religious pictures. However, holy images became unpopular when changes in attitude and belief occurred during a movement called the Reformation. So Holbein lost his income and was forced to leave Basel to come to England in search of work. His first visit to London was spent in the company of the great scholar and statesman Sir Thomas More. Then, after a period back in Switzerland with his wife and family, Holbein returned to England. He was made court painter to Henry VIII in 1536. He became the king's chief image maker, and from then on the painting of portraits became fashionable. He also developed the technique of miniature portraits, but his work for the English court wasn't restricted to portraiture. He also designed jewellery, furniture and costumes. He died quite suddenly in 1543. It's thought that he probably died of the plague, that terrible disease which killed thousands of people in Britain and across Europe. Henry VIII was born at Greenwich on the 28th of June 1491, the second son of Henry VII and Elizabeth of York. Henry had a very spoilt childhood. He even had his own whipping boy, who was punished every time Henry did something wrong. But he was also very well educated. He spoke many languages, wrote poetry, and knew a great deal about religion. And he also developed great skill in music and sports. He became the Prince of Wales following the death of his elder brother Arthur, and at the same time became engaged to Arthur's wife, Catherine of Aragon. They married when Henry became king in 1509. At that time, Henry was young, handsome and charming. He had red gold hair and was over 6 feet tall. However, aided by his ministers, Wolsey and Cromwell, his reign is one of ambition abroad and ruthlessness at home. When Henry became king, the country was Catholic, and its religion was controlled by the Pope in Rome. However, when the Pope wouldn't let Henry get divorced, Henry made himself head of the church in England instead, and gave himself the divorce he wanted. Later, Henry closed all the monasteries and nunneries in England and took all the money from the monks and nuns. He gave the monasteries to his friends as fine houses. This time was called the Reformation that I mentioned earlier. Anxious that a son should follow him, Henry VIII is famed for having 6 wives, and 3 of the queens had children who became future monarchs: Edward VI, Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth I. Do you know the rhyme for remembering the fate of his wives? Divorced, beheaded, died. Divorced, beheaded, survived. Henry divorced Catherine of Aragon, beheaded Anne Boleyn, and then his 3rd wife, Jane Seymour, died after giving birth to a son, the future Edward VI. The king then sent Holbein to foreign courts on the very important task of painting portraits of possible wives for him. The plan was that Henry would choose his next wife from one of these portraits. In fact, he agreed to marry his 4th wife, Anne of Cleves, before he'd even seen her, trusting Holbein's portrait of her. When he saw her in the flesh, however, the king was very rude, saying that she looked like a horse. He divorced her soon after. His 5th wife, Catherine Howard, he ordered to be beheaded, and then his last and 6th wife, Catherine Parr, outlived him, although only by 1 year. When Henry came to the throne, he was considered to be the most handsome sovereign in Europe. But with age and illness, the king's body became abnormally big and disfigured. When Holbein painted this portrait in 1542, it was becoming increasingly difficult to represent the king honestly, but also to present a powerful public image. This portrait is painted in oil on wood panel, a common material before the use of canvas became prevalent. Here, Holbein has placed a 3/4 length image of the king in a high and narrow frame. The overall effect is to suggest considerable power and strength, a severe and dominating figure. Henry's features are very sharply drawn. Don't you feel he's staring straight at you? Look at the sharp line of his mouth, his cheeks, his double chin, the tufts of hair beneath his lower lip, his moustache, and then his beard. It was on hearing that Francis I, King of France, had a beard that Henry grew one. Beards weren't customary in England at that time. Francis was Henry's great political and cultural rival, and as Henry's hair was reddish, it was said that he had a beard that looked like gold, which must have pleased him. The king is wearing a black hat, decorated with pearls and other jewels. The plain, dark background to the portrait shows up the brilliant red of Henry's bell-shaped robe, emphasising Henry himself and giving impact to the portrait. In his earlier works, Holbein often surrounded his sitters with objects that indicated their official position or had some actual or symbolic relevance. In his later works, these objects were replaced by plain backgrounds. Henry's robe of silk and velvet material is ornamented with an extremely intricate and detailed pattern in bright gold thread. Holbein skillfully differentiates between the textures of the material, the fur trimming and the jewellery. Henry wears a large gold and bejewelled chain and gold rings. His robe is held shut with large gold and jewel-studded fasteners. His sleeves, of cloth of gold slashed over white linen, are also covered with jewels in gold mounts. All his accessories have been carefully studied and painted. Henry is holding gloves in his right hand, and with his left he clasps the top of a walking stick adorned with gold. On the brown wood of the stick is a puzzle for you to solve. It's painted with the letter H and the number 42. Now, what do you think that could mean? Any ideas? I'll leave you thinking about it and we'll come back to it later. Now, before we leave paintings, do you remember the question I asked you about Henry VIII, the H and the 42? Did you work out what they meant? I bet you thought the H stood for Henry. Well, the most commonly accepted view is that the H is for Holbein, the artist, and the 42 is for 1542, the year it was painted.